I'm Ivy.
I'm Rachel, and we are Swords and Sapphics, a podcast all about representation, queer media, women with a capital W, and a little bit of nonsense.
So start sharpening your swords, sip your tea, and join us as we obsess over the wonderful beings that are women.
Hello.
Hello. Loving it. 10 out of 10. What are
It
we
was
talking?
the spirit of a cockney possessed my body.
That's what she said.
Um,
What are we talking about today?
well, guess what? We're not
Vegas
talking,
nut.
we're not just talking about something.
Oh my God.
We're talking to somebody again, man.
Again.
These people just keep appearing on my screen and I don't get
Oh my gosh. I wasn't ready for it.
it. No, I never am, but here we
Mm.
are.
Here we are. And so, wait, hold up, Buttercup. Who are we talking to then?
Yeah, we should probably say that, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
We're talking to Laura Bennett. She's an agent with my agent Claire at Liverpool Literary Agency, which, by the way, is one of the only agencies in the North. That's where you react like, oh my God, really?
I'm speechless. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't I genuinely didn't know that. I'm genuine, like this is my genuine reaction. Wait.
Yeah, no, so that's what I wanted to mention before we got into the interview.
Mhm.
The North does not have a lot of literary opportunities. I remember the first day I walked into my creative writing class at Chester, and the professor was like, "Oh, by the way, none of you are gonna get published."
Well, joke's
Um,
on you, Mr.
I
Fucker.
did. Yeah, I did. But it's not I mentioned it a little bit. It's not treated as like a viable career option in the North because there's nowhere, there's no publishers. I mean, it's growing. There are more now, but like there was a time when the only place to get published was in London. So if you didn't have those connections, which few people in Manchester or the North do, then it's just not gonna happen.
It's really interesting to me that it's separated so much from the capital city.
It is. Well, yeah, this is one of the things.
Huh, interesting. Not in the
It
good
is.
way, but interesting.
No, yeah.
Mm.
We it's strange because there are so many labor jobs here still, like
Mm.
manual labor jobs, but there's also the massive pressure of like academia,
Mm.
which is everywhere now. So like you go through burnout to get a degree, and then you go back to your hometown and work in a factory or something like that. And it's very interesting. Like the North is very much and has always been like a very industrial
Mm.
place. And yeah.
What's really interesting to me that there are a lot of complaints that people don't work in a physical labor jobs,
Hmm.
but they're forcing you to go get your degree and work in the office. And
Right,
and
yeah.
then they complain that they can't get a mechanic to fix something in their
Yeah.
house.
Well, because if you have the choice between sitting down, like
Yeah, I like
getting a
I
de getting a
yeah.
degree, or having to go to college and work your ass off for like half of the qualifications, if it's the normal thing now to go to university and get a loan out, then that's what people do.
That's what I mean, but there's still the pressure of doing that
Yeah.
because but at the same time we're struggling to find people who can do stuff that we can't, like
Hmm.
electricians and stuff, which also interestingly enough, they they're getting a lot of money because
Oh
they're
yeah.
now such a
Yeah.
there's so little of them.
Electricians are really well paid here as well,
Yeah.
like compared to other handyman jobs and
Honestly, gar the in the garbage truck when they're taking garbage.
Mm.
They're paid very fucking well, as they
Oh,
should. But they're
they're
doing
not here. They're
oh
not here
really?
because they work for the council.
Oh yeah. Well,
So
yeah, it's still like city thing,
yeah,
but they're getting paid well at least.
yeah. I
Wow.
think I think people who work for the council in like offices get paid probably better than people who do stuff like that.
Here
Yeah.
it's the opposite.
Mm.
Like you can if you want to do a government job, like you have a list of paychecks. So you
Hmm.
know like you're in one class of the paychecks and the only way you can get a little more is by like years.
Mm.
Or if you have a degree you get like you go like one class higher and then based on years. Like it's really and but it's still
Mm.
very low. Like it's basically
Yeah.
around the minimum still.
Mm.
Wow.
Interesting.
We took a turn again.
We did. Yeah, that wasn't the point, was it?
No, but everybody now just found out something new and different.
Yeah, I do think it's important to like acknowledge the context,
Hmm.
especially when we're talking about the publishing in the North and South. I think that's one of the reasons why, as soon as I saw Liverpool Literary Agency, like follow me on Twitter, I was like, oh my gosh. And like, I kind of just knew then,
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God, it's a Northern publisher.
Well, before we get to the interview, what have you been enjoying these days?
Oh, I've been enjoying Bride by Ali Hazelwood.
Yeah, you have.
Arranged, yeah, huh?
Yeah, you have.
Yeah, I have. It's arranged marriage. There's a werewolf and a vampire. There's a cute little sister there. There's a bit of a mystery about where her friend is at. Ali Hazelwood writes really great, funny, witty dialogue that could be missed if you don't really pay attention to it, but it's actually really great. Yeah, I would recommend. I'm enjoying it. Once again, it's in first person, and we know that I'm not a first person girly, but once you're into it, it's fine.
Mm.
You forget. There was discourse on Twitter the other day about perspective, and it's like a good writer knows how to write, no matter which perspective they're writing from. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's also
Somebody
like
I think somebody said that it should always be in third person past or some shit like that. I didn't
um
actually see the tweet. I saw everybody defending the
I
use of different persons.
I saw a TikTok that was like when you're excited to start a book, but it's in third person and like you're annoyed. And there was a whole like I saw a very good argument that people readers like expect the to be the character. Therefore, like they're expecting the story to cater to them specifically, which is never a good thing. And
No.
then when like the third person, like you're not in the story, like from the head
But
of
you still
you
are.
still are, but like it's a little different. And I get that because I feel that like difference. But it's really just interesting that people are not able to consume media when it's like not
Not
as
tailor-made for
yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy to think that like about 2 decades ago, not even that, we had like 5 channels on TV. Like, and we watched what was on and that was it. Like
Yeah.
now people have too much choice.
One
Like
could
you went to
argue
the
that.
library and picked up any book that sounded good. You
Yeah.
didn't tick a box of what tropes there were. You were just like, okay, this looks good, I'll pick
Yeah.
this. Like there's so much choice now, and that's a great thing. But I think people have forgotten that entertainment is something that you actively choose to appreciate and not
Mm-hmm.
something that has to actively cater to you instead.
Yeah.
We keep going off on
I
tangents,
was
don't
about to
we?
say it again. Yeah. So what else have you been enjoying?
I've been listening to In Walks Trouble by Dana Hawkins on audiobook, which is really great. Um, there's a bit of trauma, it's cute. The bartender is standoffish, and the narrator is really great at it. That's really it. I've been reading How We End by L.M. Juniper again. I've talked about this already, but it's great. It's zombie apocalypse. the main character's trans, and Asian. Yeah, it's great. I'm really enjoying it.
Wonderful.
How about you?
Well, I started reading the Book of Azrael by Amber Nicole, I want to say. I can't see it. It's a fantasy, but sort of like sci-fi. So like it's about gods and monsters and celestials being in sort of our world. So like they have technology, which I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know. So it really threw me. Like I thought I'm
Mm-hmm.
reading like fantasy, and like car? What? But then okay, I was like, okay, I get it. Yeah, it's fine. I was expecting to be immediately like in love and couldn't put it down. That didn't happen for me, sadly. But it's fine. And then I'm on last book in the Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver. Hopeless, it's called. I can't keep track of these names. Like it's
No.
fun. I like it, but I can't keep track. And yeah, I'm really enjoying this one. He is a soldier and he had like trauma on his last assignment. He was lost for a few days. He has burns. It's
Oh,
Yeah, it's so good. So I'm really loving that. And I think that's the only thing. Did I read some? Why are you laughing?
because I was thinking of I was thinking of the graphics of It Ends With Us when people are like domestic abuse in
Oh yeah,
heart. And we're
burn.
kind of that bitch.
Yeah, PTSD.
Almost died.
Yeah.
Addiction, kidnapping.
Alcoholism. Yeah. 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 There's a lot. There's a lot. Um, I think that's all I've been reading. I wanted to talk about Batwoman though for a little bit, for
Talk
sure.
about it. I'm
Um,
gonna put my socks on for this.
okay, go on. I'm gonna knock them right off again. So there was a lot of happening behind the scenes. So Ruby Rose, who was casted first as a black woman, black woman, left the series after like the first season, and she got replaced by Ryan Wilder, who is a black woman, and she's lesbian, and they use the word lesbian 3 times. And then there is a Sophie who is also a lesbian. She's like she came out later in life, like Kate Kane, who played by Ruby Rose, was like her first love. Um and she's also a black woman. And I think I kind of know that they're gonna like Ryan and Sophie are gonna end up together. And I thought like how fucking phenomenal that you have openly lesbian two very strong power characters who are played were not only played by black women, but there's also like the aspect of their culture, which I think is also very interesting when you're like watching shows and you see characters of like different backgrounds that are there just to tick off a box,
Mhm.
and when it's actually like part of their identity, like with again like with the culture and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's really fucking great. It
Yeah.
makes me very happy. And they're kind of enemies to lovers though.
Ooh, we
Yeah,
love to
they're
see it.
constantly fighting, they're being hostile. Sophie now found out that Ryan is a Batwoman, and she like even though like Ryan hates her and doesn't like not hates her, but she didn't trust her. She didn't like to be around her. And Sophie like deleted her DNA off of this software so they wouldn't find out she's a Batwoman. And now
Mm.
Ryan found out. And it's just really great. It's giving me so many feels. It's great. 10 out of 10. Love it. And there's so much Suffolkness. Like everybody is Suffolk, I feel like.
Yeah.
Um, Kate's sister she was kidnapped as a child, and she like went insane and now is pretending to be like the Alice of the Wonderland. Her name is Alice. She calls herself that. And she was in an island for a while, and so far it seems she's straight. But there was another woman who was in love with her. 10 out of
We
10.
love to see it.
We love to
And
see it.
also, look, if she's crazy and she was on an island, I don't think she will conform to heteronormativity.
I mean, she kind of was hooking up with the only man on the island, but
Ah, well, maybe That's just the evolutionary need to reproduce when you think you're the only
I
person
think
left
so,
in the
yeah.
world.
I think
We'll
so.
we'll dismiss that as
Yeah.
simple biology.
But it's it's really great. It makes me happy. It makes me very happy.
Good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So that's great. So that's what
Yeah.
I'm watching. And I also forgot to mention last time that I've seen Deadpool and Wolverine, and it was
Yes.
great. And that's also very much a queer movie. You're not gonna convince me otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We was watching My Lady Jane
Mhm.
the night before last.
Mhm.
And then the following morning, I went on Twitter
Yeah.
and saw that it was not renewed. We were given a gay black king and another gay, and this is not surprising to me at all, despite the fact that the straights were going mad for the straight couple.
Yeah.
This you can't tell me that it didn't get enough views. You can't tell me
I'm
that.
not
It has a massive fan base.
and it was literally in like second in chart and like in the on
Yeah.
these top 10. In one chart it was second after The Boys, right after
Mhm.
it. And on the other one it was like number 10 before Gen V, which is like a spin-off of The Boys. So like there's little proof that it was very successful.
Yeah.
And the fandom only keeps growing. And yet they're like, no. And one of my theories is that if they're going to renew it, like if Amazon is going to renew it, my theory would be that it was just like a very stupid marketing ploy that they just wanted to
Mm,
get like upset people to get it out there. And if they're not, they're just pieces of shit and Bezos deserve to die.
yeah. Honestly like it's so funny because they put all the episodes out in one go, and then like I'm surprised that it's not got as long a lifespan like view wise.
And also
And
like
also
I didn't know about it until
no,
someone tweeted about it.
no, yeah, I learned about it on Twitter
Yeah.
because they don't promote things properly.
No.
And they tweeted about it only a few hours before it was announced that it wasn't renewed as well. Like they pick their moments when they do
I know.
decide to tweet about it.
Yeah.
But
It's true.
also, well, Amazon Prime is already not as popular anymore because they started putting ads even for paid members.
Mm.
I get ads now.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was like some lawsuit about it because like it was in the contract you can't use ads. And not everybody flocks immediately to the newest, shiniest thing on the fucking watch list. Some people want to watch things when they want to watch it, and it doesn't reflect like they should measure these things after like more than a few weeks.
And especially because there there is no longer a trust from like the audience to
Yep.
the streaming service because there's so very little guarantee that your show will go on as with everything being canceled constantly. And someone tweeted like, what if like The Office was canceled after the first season? It possibly would because it
It
wasn't
would
the
have been.
best.
No.
And like these shows, like these massive cultural shows, would never exist in this time.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
just
I'm only just watching The Office now, and it's
yeah.
taking me ages to get through, but I'm still watching it when
A
I
lot
want to
of
watch.
people like it had like its own humongous rise during
Yeah.
COVID. And like that's fine, but it was also like it got huge after like the third season when it was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Like things needs to take their own time. You have to build a viewership.
Yeah.
And again, like if you're gonna change the entire the structure of how you produce the show, then you can be surprised that the viewership will change also.
Yeah.
Ugh, it's
I
just really
don't even
frustrating.
think I know. I don't even think they've republished the like film tie-in of the
Not
book yet.
yet. No, I think
It's
it's
not
coming
even
out at the end
public.
of the
Like
month.
that's a whole new wave of publicity that they could have
Yeah,
used, but instead
yeah,
they cancelled it. It's just so fucking stupid. Like I don't know who's in charge of these things, but it's like they've never existed in a time without streaming.
I know.
It's like they just don't know how audiences work.
Yeah,
It really is so annoying.
yeah.
But li nearly all the shows I'm watching right now are complete and older
Yeah.
because nobody wants to watch a show that's going to be cancelled after a season because
Huh.
they just decided they can't be bothered making another
Mm,
one. Like I'm sure the budget was a lot higher
mm.
because of it has like the special effects and like the magic and the castle and the setting and the clothes, but I don't understand.
Just upsetting.
It is.
Very upsetting. Yeah.
And I'm gonna say something controversial. It's better than Bridgerton. It's better than Bridgerton, man. But like, and even Bridgerton are taking like 5 years to put out a new season.
I I've seen a lot of people being like it's better than Bridgerton, and I don't think like it's like comparable to me because like one is fantasy, one is
Well, but
historical.
yeah, that's the thing.
But
Like, it's like that's Bridgerton is why historical is popular right now.
yeah.
So already, My Lady Jane would have had those viewers,
Mm,
but also it adds something completely different to it as well.
yeah. And it has already like its own audience because of the books.
Hmm.
It's just yeah, it's just a lot. I'm just upset. Anything
And
else?
last night we watched um Multiverse of Madness. I love women. I love Rachel McAdams.
Ah,
I love Captain Carter.
yeah, but most
And of
importantly,
course, yeah, and of course we love Wanda. We support women's wrongs.
I just can't stress enough what a wonderful character this is. I mean,
I don't think Marvel know that she's wonderful though.
no, because you know what? There has been a lot of stuff to be said about the movie. Like, I enjoyed it. I really liked Wanda's arc, or like, I like her being bad, even
Hmm.
though it didn't really exact. I don't know. It's for up for a long discussion because before when the movie was written, they didn't see WandaVision.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I just so like some of the things character-wise, I guess don't make sense. I think the good excuse or like that's in my head, like is the Darkhold did corrupt her, and that's how WandaVision
Hmm.
ended. I don't know. There's like again, like that's for a long, long, long discussion. And I do agree with some of the points that even men made, but I just like her
Well,
being bad. I'm not I mean, I'm
I
just
was sitting there
oh
imagining how great of a essay it would make on feminism
fuck yeah.
and like the transgression of feminism,
Yes.
but also still to fit traditional values because her goal is to go to a different universe to get a family.
Well, that's because like that's what her character, even in comic books and in the movies, always
Yeah,
wanted.
no.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And it makes sense in this period of her life because she's lost everybody. She doesn't have
Yeah.
anybody.
And she
But
never
she knows
had
that,
it,
yeah,
is the thing. Yeah.
which makes sense to me. What I didn't like was the end because in the
Yeah.
end she had to fit feminist standards of sacrificing herself so
Yeah.
that everything else could go fine. Like, yeah, she was a villain and there would have been no resolution if she didn't.
Mm,
But
yeah.
it was just it was interesting. Like, I don't think it's as feminist as Marvel think it is because she has an arc, but the arc very much comes to an end, and
Mm.
she goes back to her little womanly hole where we have to sacrifice
Yeah.
ourselves for the greater good.
That's why I don't think I genuinely don't believe she died because first of all there was the like flash when the mountain started falling of like her power, and I think she went somewhere else or something pulled her outside.
Yeah.
There's a lot of theories about that, and I just so like because in my head she's not dead. I'm not disappointed yet. If it's gonna be
Yeah.
confirmed she is dead, then it's that I'm possibly gonna have to be hospitalized somewhere because I'll get so
Yeah.
upset. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
get that. I hope not, because
Yeah.
that would be a real fucking shame.
Yeah.
But I think another reason why it was kind of annoying to watch is that Doctor Strange isn't no better than Wanda at any point in the film.
And she keeps
No
saying
fucking
it.
better.
She keeps saying it. She keeps calling him
Yeah,
a hypocrite because every time he says this is bad, he goes and does it.
yeah.
It's so frustrating. And she even has the mwah line. You break the rules, you become the hero. I break the rules and I become the enemy. That doesn't seem fair. No, it fucking doesn't, because it isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even just the little stuff, like when
Yeah.
he made that guy slap himself for like
I
2
know.
weeks. Like
3.
that's actually very wickedly evil.
Yeah.
You need to be locked up in an asylum if you think that's okay.
And the reason he did it is because they stole food from him and he wanted to be paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Um, I support women's wrongs. I don't support men's wrongs.
Yes.
And I don't know how pleasurable that film is for a women audience for that reason.
Yeah.
Because you know that even though they acknowledge it, they're still trying to frame it as he's the hero of the film.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
And but it's such an easy thing for them to do because the loud do bros are taking
Mhm.
it that way.
Yeah.
Like, in What If, the Doctor Strange there ruined his entire universe because he went to save Christine from dying. But that was a fixed point. So when he tried to constantly save her, he annihilated his entire universe. It happened
Mhm.
like twice. Like two strangers destroyed two universes in this movie. And yet Wanda is the enemy
Yeah.
for like
For
doing
wanting to
what?
sacrifice one person.
Yeah.
But my favorite part was that in every universe, Doctor Strange is a loser who doesn't get the girl. That really made me happy. He never gets the girl in
Yeah.
any universe.
Yeah.
Christine knows her worth.
Yeah. But then he will get Charlize Theron. So
We ain't talking about that yet.
okay. Okay. I understand.
I do not see it.
All right. That's fair. That's valid.
Anyway, shall we get to it?
We shall get to it. Enjoy the interview. Ta-da.
With Laura Bennett.
Yes. That was implied.
Well, thank you for joining us. Do you want to start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, I hate this bit. Hi, I'm Laura. I'm a literary agent at the Liverpool Literary Agency. I represent science fiction fantasy of the whole spectrum. I was telling somebody about this today, actually. I was like, anything from vampires to ghosts to spaceships to dragons to as long as it's speculative or sci-fi, then I'm there.
Yeah. I know every time I tweet about one of my like fantasy or speculative ideas, you're always the first one to comment like,
Gimme, gimme, gimme. Yep.
We'll see. Did you always want to be an agent? And what appealed to you about this job?
Well, I had no idea that the job existed when I was younger. Like, because you don't, do you? You know, as you know, especially sort of growing up in the north, the publishing industry is something that's kind of distant and quite difficult to get to. I mean, this kind of wraps up into how I became an agent. If you don't mind me kind of covering that at the same
Yes,
time.
go for it.
Totally, yeah.
So I went finished my A levels. So I'm going way. This is going back many many years because I might not look it, but I'm 40 this year. So you can. This is how many years it's going back 20 odd years. Did my A levels, then I was like, I could either do creative writing or I could do geology or zoology. I got accepted for all of those at university, and I was like, I'm going to do creative writing because that's the sensible choice.
What a wild difference between the two,
I know,
though.
right? Rocks,
Yeah.
animals, or writing. Yeah. um, so went did my degree in creative writing, which I loved. I really enjoyed it, and did like a fantasy writing module. Brilliant. Then came out and I went to university at John Moores in Liverpool. I came out the other end of that and went, now what? I don't want to move to London. I don't want to move anywhere. I like living where I am. I like living in the north. What do I do? So I ended up teaching because I was like, I don't know what else to do with this. I want to write, but I also like to eat.
Yeah.
So, so I went and I did. I worked at a college for adults with learning difficulties, and I did a year there and started my teaching degree while I was there, which they paid for. And they foolishly didn't make me sign anything to say that I had to stay there. So after a year of them paying me to learn, I left and went somewhere else. I finished off my teaching degree at a vocational college. So I was teaching mainly young men in the construction engineering department English, which was, you can imagine me in my early 20s teaching 16 to 18-year-old kind of bricklayers and painters and decorators in this English. Like it was incredibly stressful because they didn't want to learn English. They wanted to learn motor vehicle mechanics and fair, fair enough. So I got incredibly stressed doing that and hated it. Did not get on particularly well with my managers either, and that's a whole other story that I'm not actually allowed to talk about. I'll probably tell you in person at some point. And but it sounds very morbid, but my granddad passed away and left me some money, and I was like, okay, I can got enough. This will be enough to kind of do something else. So I said, right, and then I lost that job anyway for various reasons, and they were like, I have to leave, and I was like, I don't care because I'm going to go do a master's degree. I was going to leave anyway, which they didn't know. So I left that and then went to my master's degree in creative writing again at John Moores. Did that, loved it. That was where I met Claire, who is the director of the agency.
Okay.
That's where I met her for the very first time because she came in and talked about being an author because she was an author at the time. So, we met very briefly then. Did my master's degree, finished that, came out of that and went, there's still no jobs that I can use this degree for. And the plan was to go work part-time doing something and write. That was the plan.
Yeah.
The plan did not happen because the part-time job I got was working as a teaching assistant in a secondary school, which I loved. Love the kids, but I was working one-to-one with a young man who was autistic, and he really struggled in school. So that was quite stressful. And then I went on with him for a few years, and then I went back to year sevens, and I think out of the class of like 20, I think about 5 of them had ADHD. And I got on very well with them, and this is part of the reason why I'm now trying to get my diagnosis. But it wasn't the kind of job where you could then come home and write because your head would just be like, what? Yeah. This is all a very long story as to how this came about, but
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Then 2020 happened.
Yeah.
So we're up to 2020 now. I had a very weird cycle where I would get to about February and I'd get really stressed. And I'd get to the point where I was having panic attacks and I was not wanting to go to work. And when I'd been working at the college, it was worse because they weren't supportive at all. But then even at the school that I was at, they were incredibly supportive and I still really struggled. And it was like a pressure that would just build and build until I got to the point where I was like, I can't go in because I'm going to do something or say something or whatever. I can't do my job. I had to take some time off. And after the second or third time it happened, my doctor was like, can you leave your job? And my nan had just died.
Oh, God.
And left me some money. So as a matter of fact, I could at that point. So I'm going to think about grandparents passing away, leaving money and enabling me to leave my job. And I was like, I had this plan. So this is February 2020, okay? So the plan was to leave the job, even though I really loved it. And they were incredibly lovely and incredibly supportive, but I was to leave that, do some substitute work. I signed up with some substitute teaching companies. They were brilliant. They were like, you can take on whatever work you want. You can do this. I'd done private tutoring before. I could do private tutoring. And I could do a bit of writing, this and the other. Then we got to like March. Was it March? Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could not do substitute teaching because the schools were all closed.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that plan's gone down the drain as well. And then Claire got in touch and she said, would you like to do some editing? And I was like, yes, I would. I would love to actually use my actual qualifications.
Claire has a way of knowing when you need her. Like, I've had so many bad days that have ended with Claire emailing me, and I'm like, life's not so bad after all.
Yeah, it was funny because it was actually a mutual friend. We have a friend called Mike who Claire knows as well, and they were talking, and Mike was like, "Well, Laura needs some work," and Claire was like, "Oh yeah, I met Laura," and it kind of did that. Because Mike could kill me if I didn't mention the fact that he was the one that did it. So I did some editing work with Claire, and that turned into Claire saying, "Hey, we're gonna become an agency. Do you want to trade up with me and become an agent?" I was like, "That sounds amazing. What's an agent do?" So went away, Googled what literary. Oh yeah, that sounds good. Sure, that sounds amazing. Like, and then I got pregnant, so that plan also had to go on hiatus for a little while. And then had the child in June 2021. Stayed kind of out of things until the next January, and then that's when I became an agent. So that is the long, winding story of how I
Is
became
it
an agent.
amazing? Is it okay if I ask? Did you know that you had ADHD when you were working with the children, the students, or was it something that you look back in hindsight now and now you're like, oh,
No, it's something that I look back on and go, oh,
Yeah.
that's why I could keep up with them. Like,
Interesting.
that's why they like me so much, because I was on the same wavelength. Like, and I haven't got the official diagnosis yet, but I'm like I'm pretty sure it's
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. I'm the same with autism. You kind of know, when
Yeah.
you know.
ADHD here, so I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, pretty much all of my friends either have ADHD or autism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think you mentioned what appealed to you about becoming an agent.
Apart from being able to use my actual qualifications.
Well, yeah. Apart from that.
Money? No. I really I love working with people and I love connecting with people. And it's funny because I think the teaching background feeds into it so much
Mhm.
because I've kind of obviously worked with young people to try and bring out the best in them, and now working with writers to try and bring out the best in them. And it's a weird, like the more I look at the things that I learned while I was teaching and working with young people, the more that connects and feeds into it. What was the question? Sorry.
Just what appealed to you about becoming an agent?
Yeah. So, sorry, I'm like
everybody we've had on recently has had ADHD, and every time we ask them a question, they have to ask about 5 times more what the question was. So very much used to it now.
amazing. Yeah, working with people and I love writing and I love editing, but I would struggle to write a whole novel. And I will edit a novel once or twice, and then I'm like, I don't want to read that again.
Yeah. Yeah, I know those feelings.
So I think I would struggle to be an editor and have to read the same novel like 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
Like I could probably do it, but I'd just be like, no, thank you. Like, and I wrote like the first third of a fantasy novel for my MA, and I loved it. But when I think about trying to sit and write a whole novel myself, I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah.
You guys, like, you're amazing because I'm just like, no. So it's that chance to use those skills that I have
Yeah.
to help other people.
Mhm.
And I really love supporting other people. And I really love meeting people and I love connecting people. So it kind of is all of that wrapped up. And I get to read amazing books by amazing people too. And it's just like, yeah, love it.
Amazing.
What draws you to sci-fi and fantasy in particular?
It's just the best. Like,
Valid,
I
yeah.
don't, yeah, I don't know. I think it's because that's what I read and that's what I enjoy. Like, 95% of what I read or what I watch or what media that I consume is speculative in some way. It always has been. I've always been a massive nerd. Started off watching like the original series of Star Trek with my mum when I was very little. Watched Star Wars when I was a teenager. Read the fantasy books. It's just always been. For a more kind of serious answer, I love the way that you can take real life politics and situations and issues and just shine this speculative lens on them and show different things.
Yeah.
I think it's just gorgeous, and I think authors who can do that cleverly are just brilliant. That you don't even necessarily realize there's a message there until you get to the end and go, oh, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
I just think that is perfect.
How do you decide whether you want to represent an author and what do you look for in queries?
So there's kind of two aspects to that. There's the cold, I like money aspect, and there's the kind of the heart aspect. So the kind of cold money, I like money aspect is I look for things that I think I'll be able to sell.
Yeah.
Things that are quite hot current, that I know editors are looking for, things that are in the right genre, the right word count, all that kind of stuff. And then the heart thing is just things that I connect to. And I'm really, really passionate about the voices and the underrepresented voices, the LGBTQ, the disabled, people of color, everything, all those voices that, especially for science fiction fantasy, haven't been heard,
Yeah.
that are just starting to come out now, and finding those authentic voices as well. That tends to be what I am more drawn to.
Well, we have a listener question from Merlina from our Discord. How should an author query when they write multiple genres?
So I was having a think about this one. Really, you're querying whatever book it is that you're querying, and that is kind of the primary thing. But it's worth noting a little bit, I would say, because like you kind of have when you write your query, you have a little bit where you write about yourself. I would probably put in there, I also write this, and this. At that stage, it's important, but it's not something that you need to make a big deal of. When you have the call with the agent, I would say that is the time to talk about it more. Because there's that thing where they say a bad agent is worse than no agent. Like you don't want to be with an agent who only represents one aspect of what you do. It's worth thinking about, is this a genre that I want to continue writing in? Because if you get an agent with that book and then you sell that book, you might then be doing that genre for a while.
Yeah.
So I would say it's worth thinking about, would I be happy for that to be my brand for the next 5 years or the next however many years? There's other options as well, like, as you know, me and Claire will swap authors if
yeah.
And we also say if you need self-publish, like there are other options, but you can't typically be represented by more than one person. So if you're a fantasy writer and a thriller writer and you go to an agent who doesn't represent thrillers, you're probably not going to be able to do that genre with that agent anytime soon. Or like I have some authors who do middle grade, and I've said, listen, I don't do middle grade. That's too young for me. I'm happy to send it out, but I can't guarantee you any success whatsoever because I don't really have the contacts there. And I won't take on any authors for that specifically. So it's one of those things that it's a good idea to talk with the agent about and see how it feels when you kind of bring it up and what they say. Like I'll generally say I'll have a punt at whatever. Especially with speculative being so wide. But if you gave me like a crime novel, I'd just be like, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah.
Understand. Yeah.
I think that's why it's so great to be represented by Claire, because she is very flexible, and like there's the terms that you can self-publish if you need to, like and between you cover most of the
Yeah.
bases, well, genre-wise. But so it's good to know, if agents are flexible. I've not talked to any agents outside of Liverpool, so I don't know if all agents are as flexible, or if one day I might have to go into the strict wide world.
I think a lot of agents do multiple genres.
Yeah.
So one of the funny things at Worldcon is that apparently I was appreciated for being a proper sci-fi and fantasy nerd rather than an agent who just does it because it's selling. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I do restrict myself because that is all I do. So it's kind of a double-edged sword.
Mm. Would you consider branching out into other genres, or are you just firmly
Probably
sci-fi?
not.
Yeah.
I would possibly branch out age-wise. Like I would possibly go down to middle grade. That'd be more likely than me going into different genres, because I mean, sci-fi and fantasy is very wide. But I just don't know anything else well enough.
Yeah.
I think maybe romance, maybe. Because that is possibly the other thing that I would read, but it's hard to say. I think probably sci-fi and fantasy, I'd just stick with that, to be honest.
Is there anything you haven't found in a book yet that you'd love to take on?
I really want Madcap Firefly-esque crew adventure. To be fair, one of my authors wrote one and it was brilliant, but we haven't managed to sell it, which is a travesty. So I would like another one at some point. But I don't really know what I want until I see it. Like I know what genres I want, and I know kind of what I'm lacking, but I think I'd like a good dystopian to come along. I want something that kind of hits the same bits as Hunger Games did back in the day.
Yeah, we need some more good dystopians.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have a zombie book coming at the start of next year. One of us is a brilliant dystopian zombie book, so that is dystopian, I would say. But I want something kind of, Hunger Games-esque.
Yeah.
I think, because I'm hoping that the world's going to get slightly better, which means we will quite happily have the kind of darker books again.
Yeah.
And hopefully with the new Hunger Games book and film coming out, that'll reignite it a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'd quite like that. But I mean, I just have such a brilliant list now that a lot of the things that I wanted before I kind of covered.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of at a point where I'm like, I'm not sure what I want, but when it comes along, I'll know it.
Yeah. I mean, you have everything from like the superhero one, don't you? So you've got an amazing group of authors now. Like every time I'm in the Discord chat, there's always an interesting discussion.
Yeah, they're brilliant. I love it.
Is there anything that most authors starting out don't know about agenting or the publishing industry? And is there anything that came as a surprise to you when you started?
The waiting. Oh my goodness, the waiting. Everything just it's like glacial, especially at the moment. I think that's always a surprise to everyone. That it just takes forever, everything. And then suddenly it doesn't, and then everything happens at once.
Yeah.
I still think that agenting is such a obfuscated, like people don't really know what we do until they get an agent, and then even then people don't always know what we do.
Yeah. I'm always surprised by how helpful Claire is, and I'm like, but that's her job. But I'm like, oh my gosh, she works so hard. And you kind of forget that like these people want to represent you, like they're not just saying it for funsies.
Yeah. I just be a laugh. We're just because I do a monthly column for the British Fantasy Society, like an Ask the Agent, and I've always got so many brilliant questions on it. And it makes me just realise just how little people kind of know about what we do and how it works. And
Yeah.
so I think the answer is probably like everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's something I did a creative writing degree as well. I didn't learn anything about getting an agent. I didn't learn anything
Nope.
about publishing. It was solely focused on the writing aspect.
Yeah.
So it's great to learn that, but you there's no like practical tools to kind of carry on afterwards, even now.
I definitely now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, there should have been when I did my MA, there should definitely have been a like how to write a query
Yeah.
lesson
Yeah.
because it's
mean,
such a difficult skill.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people still think that you have to pay your agent beforehand. Like so like it's very it's such a sort of like a secretive job in that
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
That's why me and Clara are just like, yep, ask us everything. We will happily talk about what we do, why we do it. Ask, because it is so quiet and weird. Like,
It's never treated as like a viable career option to begin with, either as an author or an agent. So it is just learning as you go. And obviously, a lot of authors are so desperate to get the work out there that they kind of fall into the wrong hands a lot of the
yeah.
time.
Oh, some of the things that I hear. Oh my.
I bet. I bet. I mean, it's enough just the drama on Twitter. Like, some agents don't know how to be agents.
No.
Especially on social media. Like, it's so crazy.
And I mean, we're all going to make mistakes because obviously me and Clara are going to make
Yeah.
mistakes because, we're still learning. But some of the things you just are, and what it drives me crazy as well, because like the lack of oversight, because there just isn't any comeback really for
Mhm.
agents treating authors badly, and it really frustrates me. And when people say, "Oh, I'm not going to work with agents," or "I don't like agents," I'm like, we're not all the same, please.
Yeah.
We're not just here to kind of take our 15% and run. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think people forget that there's like a world outside of social media where things still happen.
Yeah.
It's not representative of everybody.
How important is it for like agents to have really good contacts in like the publishing houses? Could
It's
that be
super
like a
important.
factor in selling a book?
Oh yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. You've got to know who to send stuff to. See, I am incredibly lucky, and I have a little group of agents that I'm in, and we all kind of share contacts with each other, and they are so brilliant. Like we all kind of help each other out, and it's weird because technically they're my competition, but they're also not because we all have different tastes.
Yeah.
And it's also subjective. And there's a book that I might never be able to sell that one of them could sell, and then vice versa, or an author that I didn't quite get that one of them thought was amazing, and it's that kind of thing. And it's hard. Like that was one of the things starting out as an agent that was the hardest, was finding those contacts, because even just finding an editor's email address, it's like how? And there's no, and some of the imprints, because they've been taken over, they've been like smaller publishers who've been taken over. Some of the email addresses just make no sense whatsoever because it's the old name or it's this or it's that. And some of them are first name at whatever. Some of them are first name, not last name. Some of them, and there's no big database with them all on. So starting as an agent that isn't at a big agency, you just go in, how the heck do I talk to these people?
Yeah.
And I've been ghosted. I've had, people just not answer me. I've had people have a meeting with me and then not reply to emails afterwards. It's all kinds of stuff. So yeah, definitely important to have the contacts and meeting people as well. So like, I got to go to London Book Fair. I've been to FantasyCon. I've been to WorldCon. Getting to meet people face to face, and they recognize me now. They get an email, they go, "Oh, it's Laura." Like, it's nice.
Yeah.
And people kind of, what amazed me, I was like, I went to FantasyCon and I was like, and WorldCon, I'm like, people are actually pleased to see me. Like, they know who I am and they're pleased to see me. What?
Oh,
It's really nice. I don't mean that in kind of a really like obviously I have friends. But I'm like, people in the publishing industry know who I am and are pleased to see me, and got invited to parties. I'm like, I never get invited to parties. I'm not the kind of person that gets invited to parties, and yet I got invited to all these parties. I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Oh.
I had a very similar experience. I went to the Harper North office and it was so fancy. Like, I don't go to offices, I don't leave my house most of the time. And then they were all so nice to me and talking about my work. And I was like, oh my God, people are perceiving me like they know I exist. And Claire said, like, she was talking about me at London Book Fair. And I was like, oh my God, this just isn't right.
So, well, one of my authors, she said, oh, whenever anyone asked who my agent was, and I said who you were, they were like, they knew who you were. And I was like, people know who I am? Like,
Yeah,
what?
it's crazy.
It's mad.
Oh.
And it's great. And yeah, I had a great time at WorldCon, but definitely having that personal connection and having people that you know will answer your emails.
Yeah.
Because I have like one or two people for each publisher who I know are going to answer my emails.
Yeah.
So
I
I
mean,
always go to them first.
it's grown quite impersonal with like since COVID, especially like most business is like conducted on Zoom now. So
Yeah,
like to have that like personal connection and not just like a quick 5-minute call every now and again, it's important.
yeah. And with it again, with being in the SFF space, everyone's a massive nerd, and we can talk about
Yeah.
anything for hours.
Yeah.
And it's really nice. So even though I kind of feel a little bit out of place at like fancy parties, I'm okay at like the nerd parties. Like,
Yeah.
like I couldn't go to like, a really swanky, you know, having to wear makeup and whatever.
Yeah.
Just no, thank you.
No,
But
I'm the same. I'm
yeah,
like, I grew up in Rochdale. I'm not
yeah.
going to these places.
But like stick me in a room full of nerds at Wilcon, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yes.
I love it.
Is it there's a buffet? I'm at the buffet. That's great. Like,
Last question, and we're running out of time. We always like to ask what people are enjoying at the moment. So is there any like TV show, movie, game, etc. that you wanna gush about for a minute? Nerd out about.
I was thinking about this because there's always loads. I just watched the new Interview with a Vampire. Incredible. Really love that new series of Interview with a Vampire. I've been really getting into RuPaul's Drag Race recently.
Oh, I've heard, a lot of people really love
It's
it.
so good. It's so
Yeah.
good. It's so emotional as well. I went to see Deadpool and Wolverine. That was incredible.
Oh, yes.
Abby's a big Marvel fan.
Yeah. I have to tell the truth, it wasn't my most recent cinema visit, because my most recent cinema visit was to see a compilation of Bluey episodes. Because my 3-year-old went to cinema for the first time and she really
I'm
loved
not
she really
gonna
liked it.
lie, that sounds like a great time.
It was good. It was a good time. I'm just gonna look at my Kindle because I did look at my Kindle and went, I need to plug these books, and then the complete went out my head. There's a book called The Last Gifts of the Universe by Riley August that was self-published and is coming out soon, that is just fantastic, and it's got a space cat in it. My Lady Jane, if you've not seen that,
yeah.
that's
Oh,
brilliant.
yes.
Yeah.
We just
And the
finished.
book is
We're in
just as
mourning.
good. The
We're in
book is
mourning
just
'cause
as
it was
good. Like,
Oh, we want
so I was reading that. I'm literally just looking at my Kindle going, right, what did I read recently? Fathom Folk by Eliza Chan, brilliant. Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I read that recently, loved it.
Oh, I've been dying for that one.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really good. I got into Howl's Moving Castle,
Oh.
and I've just started watched My Neighbor Totoro with the little one, and she loved it, and I thought that was brilliant with Kiki's Delivery Service. I've never seen anything Studio Ghibli before, and I was like, it's amazing. I can go on like however long you let me. Anything by
And
T. Kingfisher, Martha Wells, the Murderbot. Have you read Murderbot?
No.
No.
Oh,
But I'm enjoying
amazing.
TK Fisher a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. There's there's a TV series called The Other Black Girl, and it's about working in publishing, and it is brilliant. It's
Oh,
on, I think it's on Netflix.
I think I heard about it actually.
It's really good. So if have you read Yellowface?
No, but
haven't.
I have it.
Okay, Yellowface is brilliant. So Yellowface and The Other Black Girl, both of those are such a disturbing yet accurate portrait of publishing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, both of those are brilliant.
Amazing. Thank you.
There you
Thank you. I was actually going to ask, is reading still fun when it's kind of your job as well?
Yeah, I have
How do
to
you?
kind of switch the editor brain off.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I'm the same when I'm editing. It's hard work.
I've actually been listening to audiobooks before I go to sleep. I've been listening to Ready Player One and Ready Player Two, because they're read by Will Wheaton and he just does it so brilliantly. Because the books are good, but they're not so good that I want to stay awake to listen to them.
Yeah.
So they just kind of send me off to sleep. So I don't know what I've nearly finished Ready Player Two, and then I downloaded Armada, which is by the same author. So that'll probably be my next one. But yeah, I still like to read for pleasure.
Good.
Sometimes if I've just edited something, I have to kind of take a break and not read for a
Yeah.
little bit, and then
Get that. Yeah.
yeah, because I recently read a manuscript and then offered on it, so then I had to kind of take a little bit of a break from reading because that's still in my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got a few books. I'm really into lit RPG, which is like a genre that's mostly self-published or by like independent publishers, and that's like really like popcorn fiction. It's like you just
Mm.
that kind of
Amazing.
yeah, that helps reset my brain.
That's fun.
What?
Did you learn anything about agenting?
I did. I always do learn so many things.
I know.
Yeah, it's really what I said. Like, it feels such a secretive job. Like,
Mhm.
you know very little. But I guess like I guess I'm thinking about it also like differently because I've been working with sales team so much. This to me
Mm.
like this like is a sales job. Really to me, that's how I'm taking it.
Oh yeah, it is. And
Yeah. And like a lot of
people
negotiation and stuff.
people get upset on Twitter when agents reject them for not enjoying the book, but it's like if someone's going to be selling your book, you want them to love it.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to
Like,
find someone who will fight for you and your book.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I get it, especially with like minorities, like because there's a lot of rejections where agents are like, oh, I just didn't connect with the characters, and the character in question is like a black lesbian or something, and you just know that that's because they can't step outside of their white
Mm-hmm.
perspective. But like in general, I think people I think they also don't understand that like the money only comes if they can sell the book. So like they're not getting paid a lot.
Yeah, it's
So
their
like
job.
yeah.
Yeah. I also think people don't really think of it as like other people same, but like even writers don't really think about it as a job and that people need to make money. So they need to
Yeah.
get something that they know they will be at least passionate enough to be able to sell.
Yeah. But at the same time they're underpaid, so you can't
Yeah.
expect them to like jump through hoops before they've started representing you and kind of not give you that rejection. Like sometimes they have to.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do it. I would love to be an agent. I'm good at championing people, but I don't want to talk to people.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, it would be very fun because I like being passionate about stuff and I like being like the cheerleader and being like and
Yeah.
spreading the words and be like also like the fact to be able to say when you see a fandom and like, well, it's because of me, because I pushed it there, you know, that's I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean talking to people, keeping up with contacts, I can't do that.
Yeah. No. I would always feel like I'm on the outside.
Yeah, I get that.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
But you do have to have so many skills to be an agent as well. Like you
Yeah.
have to be sociable, you have to be able to sell things, market things, edit things, do things, say things, email things, tweet things.
Correct. All correct. All correct.
You left me for too long and I had to keep going.
And I can agree with you. It's really moved on mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
I have something.
Oh, do you? Is it about tomorrow, perhaps?
Tomorrow, my book Kindling is out by
What?
under the pen name Bonnie Woods.
You have what? You don't tell
No.
me things.
I know.
No. I always
I
found out
never-
here.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be
Well,
a
I-
plot twist if we talk just on the podcast? Then I genuinely learn the things here.
Yeah, me and Ivy don't talk to each other in real life. We
No.
just meet, we just convene once a week here and see what will happen. So
Wonderful.
she didn't even know Laura was coming today. That was the
No,
surprise.
that's how little we talk.
That
They're
was
on.
sarcasm. That was sarcasm, by the way. If you're autistic like me and didn't get it, it was sarcasm.
talk
we
more about
actually
kindling.
we talk every night.
But talk more about kindling. I ruin it with sarcasm. Go on.
Oh, something new and different.
Oh, okay.
Okay, kindling. Aren't you glad I know so much about my own book?
I am.
Well, it's a steamy romance set in autumn with a bisexual plus size main character
Yes.
and a hot, gruff Scotsman lumberjack love interest.
Love to see.
And there's lots of small town found family and spice in the lock over the chopping block with a little toy to play with. There's so much spice. I didn't write that. It wasn't me. Don't look at me when you read the scenes. I didn't do it. It was someone else. It was
All the
Bonnie.
these parts. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm very excited about it and very proud of it. And I'm getting loads of really nice feedback for it already.
As you should.
I had a lot of readers tag me this weekend to say they was reading it, and I was like, oh my gosh, people are reading it now.
Yeah.
People are enjoying it.
It's really, you know what, like it's so weird that someone else read it before me.
You know,
I'm
not
just
just
so
somebody else, multiple people.
I didn't want to say that, but thank you for saying that.
I'm
Yeah.
on 15 reviews on NetGalley, so at least 15.
Ugh. I'm ashamed. Anything else on your mind?
No, nothing.
Something
No,
else to publicly shame me with?
I had to think, but I
Yeah,
guess not.
I got that. You're supposed to say no.
No, of course not.
Okay.
That I can remember.
Great.
Okay, so we're going on hiatus next month.
We are. We're taking a month off.
We are doing that.
Although from October, we are, because it's September and then it's October, right?
Yes, that is how the Gregorian calendar works.
I don't know the English names often. Okay. But yes, and in October we're doing a next camp, but we will be talking about that in October.
Yes, we will. But if you want to start prepping because this next month, the coming month, join our Discord. Follow us on social media.
Yes.
Swords and Sapphics and Scribbles. And we also put out a blog interview with Francesca. Oh, I liked that little roll of my tongue. Francesca McMahon, who talks about their upcoming novel, The Spiral of Life.
Mhm.
It's a YA fantasy with lesbians.
Wonderful.
That came out on Friday.
So remember,
Support women's rights.
but most importantly, support women's wrongs. Especially when she's turning other men into spaghetti and like is like, what mouth? And he blows his brains out.
I don't remember that part of the film. Oh yeah,
Like,
I do. I do.
come on. Yeah. Is their mother still alive? Yes. Good. There'll be someone left to raise them. Anyway, so it's time. We shall see you later, alligator.
In a while, crocodile. Thank you for listening to Swords and Sapphics. You can enjoy a new episode every Wednesday.
While waiting, you can visit our website, swordsandsuffix.com, and find lots of articles, interviews, and guest pieces.
Feel free to contact us with any requests, questions, or inquiries through a form on our website or directly to our email, swordsandsuffixpodcast@gmail.com.